Hi, this is Tim. Today we're going to talk about how to wire series and parallel circuits and what the difference between the two of them are. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We put out at least one automation video a week. And any questions that come up, feel free to put them in the comments. Your question this week could easily be next week's automation topic. And we're going to start off with our basic single switch, single light circuit. And we're going to use switch 1 and light 1. And the basics of any circuit is that you'll have a power supply, which in our case is 24 volt DC. And we're going to need to make a continuous path from the positive through our load and back to our negative. In fact, even before we do this circuit, let's just even take this switch out of it. So we're going to take a wire from the plus 24 volt over our power supply to one side of our light, and we're going to come out of the other side of our light to the minus. We're going to go ahead and flip our trainer around, and our power is unplugged, and we're going to put a wire to each side of light 1, and we're going to connect one side of it to the minus of our power supply and the other side to the plus of our power supply. Now, one thing I don't know if I actually stated in the beginning is the left set of terminal blocks is the plus 24 volt. The right set is the 0 volt. So we'll flip this back around and turn our power back on, and our green light comes on. And there is your super basic circuit to power a light from a power supply, minus that switch. But typically you're going to want to control, in this case, our light somehow. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add switch 1 in it. So we'll need to take a wire. Actually, we already have a wire coming from light 1 to our power supply. So I'm going to take the wire off of our power supply and connect it to this side of switch 1. And we'll put a new wire from the other side of switch 1 back to here. So we'll turn our power back off. And we're going to take the wire off the plus of our power supply and put it to the bottom of switch 1. Now, I get a question a lot is, does it matter whether you go to the top or bottom of the switch? Well, it doesn't matter except when it comes to consistency. And that's what I would say. A lot of people will say, well, you need to put the power in the top. It needs to come out of the bottom. I won't go there, but I will say that if you go into the top of this one, you should go in the top of the next one, and then the top of the next. If you go in the bottom, it should go in the bottom of all of them. Whichever way you want to do it. Consistency, though, helps a lot when troubleshooting. So then we'll take a wire to the top of switch 1 and connect it to the plus of our 24 volt power. So now, looking at our diagram, we have our plus 24 volt going to one side of switch 1, and out of the other side of switch 1, we're going to one side of our light, and out of the other side, we're going to the minus of our power supply, completing our circuit. And we'll turn our power back on, and our light did not immediately come on. Now, we're going to do a switch 1 to make the green light come on. Switch it off, the green light's going to go off. So that is the basics of all control circuits. Now let's modify this just a little bit, because I want to make sure that you know you can do this. Let's take switch 1 and move it down here. So turn our power back off. And to do this, it's going to be very simple. We're going to take the wire off the plus of our power supply and connect it to the minus of our power supply. And then we're going to take the wire that was on the minus and connect it to the plus. So now, looking at our diagram, we have the plus 24 volt of our power supply going to one side of our light. We're coming out of the other side of our light to one side of switch 1, and then we're coming out of the other side of switch 1 to the minus of our power supply. And let's turn this on and see what it does. So we'll switch 1 on, and our light comes on. Switch it off, and it goes off. It works exactly the same. So this circuit right here that we have wired now functions exactly the same as our original circuit. So which one is right? Well, you know, if you've watched my channel for very long, there is no right or wrong. but it's going to come back to this basic diagram from our syncing and sourcing video to decide which one you need with your particular circuit. So this is a very good video to watch. I'll put it in the description as well. Now let's expand on this and add lights 1 through 3 in series. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of our power supply just like we did in our first exercise to switch 1. Come out of the other side to one side of light 1 just like we did in our first exercise. Then we're going to take from the other side of light 1 to light 2, the other side of light 2 to light 3. Then we're going to come back to the minus of our power supply. So we'll turn our power back off. And first, before we start, let's swap that plus and minus wire again, because that gets us back to that original wiring, just to help us out a little bit, make sure we don't get confused. And so we need to go from the plus to switch 1. So here's the plus of our power supply going to switch 1. And then from the other side of switch 1, we're going to one side of light 1. So now this other wire that we had going from light 1 to the minus of our power supply now is going to go to one side of light 2. Then we're going to take a wire from the other side of light 2 to light 3. And finally, we're going to take a wire from the other side of light 3 back to the 0 volt of our power supply. Okay, just to recap, we've got a wire from the plus of our 24 volt power supply going to one side of switch 1. And from the other side of switch 1, we're going to light 1. And then from the other side of light 1, we're going to light 2. Then from the other side of light 2, we're going to light 3. And finally, from the other side of light 3, we're going to go back over here to the minus of our power supply. So let's turn our power back on and see what we get. So we switch 1 on. Okay, and the green light came on fairly bright. The yellow light, it's kind of like, all right, is it on or off? All right, when we switch it, we can see it's definitely turning on, and the red light is. So they are all turning on, but they're not nearly as bright. Now, in a few videos, we're gonna go through exactly what is going on here, but mainly on this one, we wanna make an observation about the voltage. So let's flip this back around. So we'll go and switch 1 on and flip our trainer around, and let's do some voltage checks. So we're gonna put our meter on DC voltage, and first let's check our 24 volt power supply. And we've got 24 volts, and let's check in between our light. So we check here on light 1, we have 5.8 volt, and light 2, we've got 9.1 volt. And then light 3, we've got 8.8 volt. Well, if you add all those up, it's going to come up to 24 volt. And what's happening here is it is dividing the voltage across these since they're in series. In a few videos, we're going to go through this in more detail, but I think that's a good thing to point out and make sure that you understand. Now let's modify our wiring to make it parallel so that we can see the difference in the lighting. So we'll pull our power back off, and now we're going to make it for this diagram. So we're still going to have a wire coming from the plus 24 volt to switch 1, which we already have, and we're going to have a wire off the other side of switch 1, and it's going to go to light 1. But now, instead of it going from the other side of light 1 to light 2, we're actually just jumpering. And we're going to jumper again to light 3. So let's just take, we have this wire, this jumper wire, we'll take it off of light 1, and we're going to put it along with switch 1's wire. And temporarily, let's remove the wire going from the minus of the power supply to switch 3, just so y'all don't go insane trying to follow what I'm doing. So we have a wire from the plus of our power supply to switch 1. Then we got a wire from switch 1 that's actually hitting all 3 lights. So I've got a wire here, it's going to switch 1. We have another wire right underneath it, going here to switch 2. Oops, and there's why even I needed to check. This wire that's going over to switch 3 needs to be underneath there as well. So that's going to take care of the top side of our wiring. Now we need to do almost the exact same thing to the bottom side. So we're going to jump our light 3 to light 2 to light 1 to the power supply. So here is the minus of our power supply. And we're going to connect it to the unused side of light 3. And then we'll take a wire from that side of light 3 and connect it along with an extra wire to light 2. And then that extra wire will go over here to light 1. Now I broke my own rule somehow while doing this, as I sat there and told you you need a consistency, consistency, consistency. Well, I have the minus on the left side on this one, the left side on this one, and the right side on this one. So I'll go and call myself out on that one. It will work the exact same, but if I was building a panel, I definitely wouldn't do that. So let's turn this on now and see what we have. Now, when we switch 1 on, oh yeah, I mean, they're definitely on now. There's no debating on whether the yellow light is on or off. I mean, they're clearly indicating on. So let's check the back side of our trainer now and see what the voltage difference is. So before we were getting, I think, between 6 and 8 volt on the back of our light. Now when we check on the back of our light, we've got 24 volts. And go ahead and check all of them just so you make sure you understand that. This one has 24, that one has 24. So now we have full voltage at all of our lights. And finally, we have this diagram, which if you're an overachiever, you can take a screen capture of the video right now or pause and wire it. But mainly, I did this one because I wanted to be able to switch between the series and parallel wiring. And so I added switch to a relay that would actually switch between these lights being paralleled and being series. That way you could see the difference. And mainly in the next video, we're going to talk about the actual voltages on them. And I didn't want to have to keep wiring and unwiring, so I did this. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that gives you a beginning grasp of it. And we have lots of other wiring exercises. So check out our lessons section. Till next time. Hey, this is Tim.
And this is Amber of TW Controls. We run the automation store. Hey, thanks for finding our channel.
Here's a playlist with some similar videos.
And YouTube thinks you'll like this video.
Please like our video and subscribe to our channel.
And if our videos have helped you make some money and you're not using our products, please consider supporting us on Patreon.
Till next time.
See ya!